Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Booktube Chicks Book Club. Tonight we are discussing our February pick, which was The Marriage Act by John Mars. If you've never been to one of our live shows before, I'm going to let these two people introduce themselves in just a moment. But the way that our live show works is we do the next 5 to 10 minutes as spoiler-free initial thoughts and ratings for the book. And then after we go through the initial thoughts, we get into the spoiler discussion. Really quick before we get into conversations related to the book, there are some trigger warnings with this book that I would like to add, as they will probably come up at some point during this live show. There are multiple trigger warnings for suicide, bullying, on-page death, death of a parent, death of a spouse, and sexual abuse. If anybody has any to add, please feel free. And if not, or just add it into your whatchamacallit, your thoughts. Kat, if you want to go ahead and start.
Sure. Okay. So this was my pick for the month. And so this is a thriller. It's one of like 5 of his psychological thrillers or whatever it is. So this is following a futuristic world where there's several things going on. Some of these things happen in other books that is part of the same world, but you can read this as a standalone. The one that us as a Booktube Chicks we read back, I think it was in November or October, I don't quite remember. It was one of these months. We read the one together, and that was one where there was kind of like this dating website. It's not really a website. It's not like dating, but basically you send in your DNA to this company who discovered that there's this particular gene in your DNA that is identical to only one other person in the entire world, and that's your soulmate. So you kind of have this perfect genetic match that's out there in the world. So that was the one. And then in the second book, we talked about self-driving cars. The third book, we talk about uh, people where we store everybody's information, like important information, in somebody else's head so that nobody can hack people's information. And then this is the Marriage Act. The Marriage Act follows, basically it's a law where, well, not necessarily a law where basically marriage has become the norm and being single is not. And there's all sorts of things that happen in this book, and it's quite crazy. We do follow 4 couples, and I don't know how to say it without giving it away, because so much does happen in this book. I really did enjoy this book. The one by John Mars, again, set in the same world, was definitely my favorite out of this series, even though it's a standalone. But this one was a definite other favorite. I did give this 5 stars because I really enjoyed it. I did feel like that the beginning, as we get to know all the characters, is a little slower, and I wasn't as invested in the characters as I was like with the one. But the ending I really liked, and I really enjoyed. So this is why I gave gave this one a 5.
So I know that Kat was saying it was futuristic. I don't know how, like, if they put a year on it. I don't remember, but it feels like we're a hop and a skip from this possibly becoming a thing, which is what
Yeah, I
makes
say
it also
futuristic,
frightening.
but very near futuristic.
So it was just very creepy. And like between the chapters, they had these like the Marriage Act. And they would have like all these facts that were basically government funded, because the government was subsidizing marriages. Anyway, I thought the whole thing was very creepy. There's obviously a lot of things that happen. It felt very similar to the one in the way that it was presented, kind of like you can see similar formulas in how he put it together and the alternating perspectives and stuff like that. But I really like the one. I gave that 5 stars, and I also give this 5 stars.
So I agree that the one is probably like the best one out of the ones that we've read set in this world. Um, I didn't read the Minders yet. I know Kat has. So this one, I did read the Passengers, and then this one is the third one that I've read set in this world. Um, I don't think it's my favorite one set in this world. I feel like I wasn't as invested with these characters as I was in the Passengers or in the one. Um, there's, I think the added element of the fact that there's 4 couples and then there's like side characters as well adds even more characters that you have to keep up with, and that can be hard, especially when you're listening to the audiobook. But I do recommend the audiobook at the same time because of all the various sound effects that they have, especially for the little like commercials or like ads in between some of the chapters. But so there's a lot of characters to follow. That's just something to keep in mind with this one. I gave it 3.5 stars. I feel like a 4 for me is good, and a 3 for me is it was just okay. But I don't feel like it was either of those, so it's in the middle somewhere with the 3.5. I don't know. There was something that just didn't make it quite a 4. I think there was a blend of characters that I was interested in and characters that I wasn't interested in. And I think that's part of why I didn't like this one as much. If I were to rank the 3 that I have read, it would be the one, then the Passengers, and then this one. And on that note, we can go ahead and go into spoilers.
Wait, Desiree, what did you rate this?
5.
Okay. So for me personally, I feel that this was probably the most unrealistic of the ones that I've read. Well, maybe the Minders, where they like store sensitive information into random people in fear of being hacked. But so they have for guess we're going to spoilers, but they have the smart marriages where people sign up to be part of the program and you get all of these benefits, but in return you have to give up your privacy. So you have like this little almost like an Alexa kind of thing or an Echo that's in your home, and it's listening to your everyday lives, and if it detects that there's some arguments or something bad happening between you and your partner, and it starts like putting you guys in like levels, like warning levels, like level 1, we're going to monitor everything you say, level 2, you're going to see a counselor, and level 3, you guys are going to go before the court to see if you guys should get divorced. I don't know necessarily. I don't see that personally being realistic, especially here in the United States. I can see some variances of that being passed where, because our government likes to control everything, I can see them trying to pass something similar like this. But I personally don't feel, and I can definitely see maybe this in countries where there's a lot more like dwindling marriage rates, in return dwindling birth rate going down. So I can see that, but United States not necessarily. And this takes place in the UK, so I don't know how it is over there, but here in the United States I don't necessarily see this happening ever, just because Americans are so like independent minded, and just a lot of Americans are very like private people. So I don't think that they're gonna, although there is like the whole question of people like putting Alexas in their homes, or Siri, whatever, and them listening on your conversation. So there's always that thing.
They're always.
Yeah, they're always listening. But I don't know. I don't feel like Americans were so willing to give up their privacy and in turn their freedom like this, because I feel like this is very restrictive, because people know that if anything, any slight that you say to your partner, that little AI is listening, and it could potentially ding you on your smart marriage. And then in turn, if you get to like the 3rd level where you have to go before the government, and then the government has to tell you, the court has to tell you whether you're going to get divorced, I feel like people here are really going to push back against that. So I don't know how you guys feel.
Okay, so like we already have devices listening
Right.
all the time
Absolutely.
in our house. So that's a reality. And I would have to like go searching for it, but I know there are places in the United States that are already trying to offer couples perks for getting married. So you have like the two sides of that, and all that's missing at that point is the surveillance for that purpose.
Right. No, like
Like,
I do think that it's possible for something like this to happen, but I feel like in this particular example, where first off the AI is listening to your conversations to make sure you guys are in a perfectly healthy marriage, or in a perfect marriage, not even perfectly healthy, but you know, your first thing is that it's not going to listen to everything, and then your second thing is that you're forced to have this counselor, whatever he was called, the come in, and he has the choice of being in your home 24/7, which I personally found really, really creepy, but whatever. Apparently it's easier and it gets you off the second level, but then the third level, where you have to go before a court, and the court tells you you have to divorce, or you have to stay together. It's like not even a choice. I feel like that's a little that's the part where it's going a little towards unrealistic for me. But I'm not saying that it's not possible, with how crazy our world is, that it might not happen.
I mean, I just think that like the couples that are agreeing to this are probably saying to themselves, one, we're already married, we love each other, so like what does it matter? But also because they're receiving the perks, like, you know, Roxy specifically, that was her name, right? I think so.
Mhm.
She just like, she wanted fame, she wanted fortune, she wanted notoriety.
That chick
She
is
wanted to
crazy.
be like,
Totally.
she wanted to have, you know, she wanted to live in the best neighborhood, like all of that. And that's a little bit of what was being offered by signing up to have a smart marriage. So I think, you know, the couples that are opting in are thinking like, you know, like I've heard people say, I have nothing to hide, what do I care, you know? And so I there's a lot of people with that mentality, that they're like, they can listen all they want, we're not doing anything bad, and they're totally willing to sacrifice their privacy for perks. um
I think, honestly, speaking of the perks, I think that the saddest story, I think it's Arthur. That we find out that his wife is dead at the end, and she's been dead for months, and that he's getting penalized for continuing to receive the benefits, and then in the end they threaten him, and they're going to take away everything from him, and he decides to kill himself. And I was in the car with Chloe, and I was like, and Chloe was like, does he kill himself? I was like, and I read off like on the book, like from to Chloe. I was like, Chloe, he killed himself. He locks himself in the garage in the car, and he killed himself. And it was really sad. And honestly, it was sad because he was not a character that I was overly invested in. I cared more about, who was it, Jeffrey, who was the creep, and then Roxy would just creeped me out, and Corrine, I don't know what was her deal. And then Anthony, but he was the one that I was least interested in, and then he actually ends up being the one that I think about the most, because
right.
he was with his partner for so long, and then he
And
lost her.
he didn't want to get remarried, he didn't want
Yeah,
to be
and
like
yeah,
that.
and they're like, and he's like, he meets this person on a date, and it's like, she's like, just do enough to get by, and he's like, I don't want to do this, and then in the end, everything just goes to shit for him, and he ends up feeling like he has no other choice but to, and that's just, I feel like that's just really sad.
And his story, I wasn't even really invested in until they revealed that his wife was dead. Then I was like, what's going on with Arthur, man?
And that he kept her body in their like their bedroom, and I was like, and that he slept
Yeah.
like next to her, and I was like,
And I
does
was,
that smell not get to you? Like, I don't
Well,
understand.
he wrapped her in like,
Oh, did he? Okay, I don't remember that
yeah,
part.
yeah, yeah. They mentioned that he like wrapped her a few times in plastic or something to like to curb the smell. But
I don't know.
it's only going to curb it for so long.
For me, that was like his story was really sad.
I've read another book not that long ago that involved like someone losing their significant other and like continuing to have a relationship with them in his mind. Like,
You know, the thing with these like futuristic books I was telling Kat, is because I finished The Passengers and then like almost immediately went into the Marriage Act. It's too real. Like it's one of the reasons why I refuse to read or watch The Handmaid's Tale, because I feel like it's too real.
Yeah.
And I was telling her, I was like, I need a palate cleanser after this. This is too much.
Yeah. Yeah.
Especially when there was some sort of comparison to, I don't remember, it was something with Princess Diana, and it said Princess Diana, King William's late mother, and I was like, no, it's too soon. It's too soon.
Okay. So who do we want to talk about next?
Wait, did you guys read the author's note at the end?
Mm-mm.
I started, but I honestly I never finished it. I have to. Yeah, I have to.
Well, apparently John Mars is married to someone named John, and
Oh yeah, I read about that. Yeah.
and he was
Yes.
saying that like this is one of the first times that he's written a book that wasn't about his idea, that it was his husband who had like brought it up, and that they would spend hours talking about it, and eventually he was like, I'm gonna make this into a book. But I really, really liked that the one was incorporated in it.
Yeah. Yeah, and you kind of, I didn't see the minders as much as in this book, but you also, this book does mention like the self-driving cars,
Yeah.
and then the hacking collective that hacked the cars from the passengers, so it does get mentioned there. So I do like that, even though it's a standalone, he is kind of like putting these little Easter eggs from his previous books into his next books. So
I think the one has been the most prevalent in the previous
yeah.
books. The Passengers was in this one. I didn't recognize anything that sounded like the Minders, but I also haven't read the Minders, so I don't know. Something I kind of want to pose a question here, and Kat, you might have the answer to this. The guy from the one who like messed up everybody's matches and everything.
Yeah.
Is he a part of the hacking collective? Like, do you think he was like the start of the hacking collective, or was the start of the hacking collective in the Passengers?
I think I don't remember if he was definitively a part, but I think he was a part of the hacking collective.
Okay.
But the hacking collective, yeah, it was more prevalent in the Passengers. Yeah. But I do think he was part of it. I would have to go back and reread, to be honest.
Okay, because I feel like that. Because I was like, well, the hacking collective only showed up in the Passengers, and I was like, well, there was that one dude though,
Yeah.
so I wasn't sure. Like, I'm excited to read the Minders, but I'm also like, I need some distance between these two books. Plus, the next one in this like world comes out in I think May, and I need to space everything out accordingly.
Well, really quick, speaking of hacking, did you guys hear about the insurance hack, cyber attack that just happened recently?
You'll have to remind me because I don't.
United Healthcare has received like a hack, and they're asking for ransom. They're basically like holding people's information ransom, and there are people that cannot get their medications because the hackers have blocked the ability to check, like to verify that they have insurance. So people are not able to get their medications paid by insurance, and they have to pay out of pocket right now. I'm in like a Manjaro group, and people are all complaining about how they have been having to pay out of pocket for their Manjaro because of the hack, the cyber attack.
Damn. Okay, no offense, but United Healthcare is like a quadrillion dollar company. They like make a bajillion in money and profit. So they can either just pay, or they can pay an even better hacker to take that back. So
I don't know.
I'm sorry.
Know how any of that works.
I feel bad for the victims, which are, they're the insured, but I don't feel bad for United Healthcare at all. So.
I have United Healthcare, so I haven't had to pick up any medications yet, but I will let you guys know if I'm also affected, because
when did it get started?
Like a day or two ago. Okay, is when they started talking about it in the news.
Okay. And I hope that they're losing trillions of dollars. So, just saying. Okay. So, go ahead.
I kind of want to talk.
Go ahead.
Oh,
Yeah.
oh,
Go ahead. Go ahead.
We all have ideas here. I kind of want to talk about Jem Jones for a second, and that.
Oh yeah, that's
and how it came just full circle.
And the fact that she was AI, a deep fake. You know what? One thing that I do appreciate about this book is that there was talk about deep fake. And I don't think people realize in this. Excuse me. I don't think people realize that deep fakes are a thing, and it's not just in the book. They've been doing this for years. And in fact, I've read in the news recently after the Chiefs game, after the Super Bowl, someone did a deep fake of Taylor Swift in a pornographic video. And so it was in the news. So the fact is that part exists already in the world, and more people should know about it because it is a very real thing. And with the prevalence of AI now, I've seen AI all over the place, and people complaining about how book covers are being AI generated rather than using real artists. It's becoming a real problem. So I'm glad that he touched upon, especially deep fakes, because it's definitely a thing, and I feel like deep fakes are definitely not talked about enough, and how they are very, very damaging because there's no control over them right now.
It's kind of crazy how when we were talking to Anthony, or when we were reading about Anthony, and he kept making these vague references to Jem Jones and how he was the one that killed her and blah blah, or caused her to do this and stuff like that. It almost, like, I know it was probably intentional, but it was like made to sound like he was having an affair with her.
Yeah, so I was like, in the beginning when we started like reading his chapters, and he was like, yeah, I killed Jem Jones, and then he reached for his gun and he started doing like the gestures. Yeah. I thought that maybe she was like still, my guess was that she was still alive, and that he like somehow edited a video to show that she killed herself. Mm-hmm. And in a way, because whether he was involved with her, he wanted to get her out of the limelight because she was getting like threats and everything. But I did not expect the fact that she didn't exist from the beginning. I did not expect that. I thought the twist was that she was alive from the beginning.
Yeah, I thought he was just like helping her get out of like all the chaos. Yeah, I did not expect her to be a deepfake.
Because when the video at the end starts playing and it's like, Jem Jones is not real. I pretended that I was her mom. So I was like, oh, they got an actress. And then it was like, oh wow, it's even deeper than that.
But yeah, that was definitely a twist that I didn't see coming.
I don't know. It's just, I think what makes it so scary is just how like real all of it feels. Like there's so many political arguments that are happening that were like touched upon, even though it was in the UK, it still feels like it was being touched upon, and the issues with AI and deepfakes and like misinformation and like just the government wanting to have more control over everything.
I feel like in a way I do feel like we're seeing the beginnings of the government control. They're with the whole abortion talk, and I don't know, I feel like someday they're gonna impose like the kind of like China did with their one child act. They're gonna try and impose like, all families must have like a minimum of 2 children or whatever. I feel like we're definitely like heading that way, over government being more, especially because we're at the age of technology and we're so willing to give up our information for benefit. In this case, like these people did, they gave up their privacy for all of these cool benefits that these people got, like new houses or whatever. I feel like we're definitely heading into an era where people are more willing not to give up their privacy, to just give up all their information for essentially benefits or whatever attention in the way of Roxy, that she wanted so much to be an influencer. She was willing to like put her daughter up on stage when her daughter didn't give consent. And so I don't know. It was just it is a little scary to read books like this where it does feel very real.
It's interesting that you brought up about having kids, because his next book that's in the same universe is about, I think there's too many people in the country and they don't want you to have kids, but people still want to have kids. So what they do is they set up like a virtual baby that you raise via like a
Oh, I
VR
think yeah.
headset. Yeah. And
that it's kind of like a Tamagotchi.
yes, that's what it said in the synopsis. I was about to pull that up. And you know, that's also, I think that's interesting that this book is coming out, because VR has been a thing for a while, but it's like, I feel like it's more becoming a thing with like the Apple thing that just came out too, or is coming out.
Oh
Well,
yeah,
I think that isn't that out already? I thought it was out, but that's AR.
VR?
No, so we
Okay.
have VR, which is virtual reality, right? And that
Yeah.
you put on a headset that puts you in a virtual world.
Yeah.
AR is augmented reality, where it takes stuff that's virtual and puts it in our real world.
Okay, I think the book is VR.
Okay. Like Pokemon Go, if you turn on Pokemon Go, there's an AR feature where you can see Pokemon in the real world. That's AR. So the Apple thing is AR because it puts a whole TV screen in your living room, or at least it looks like.
Isn't that what remember Google Glass that failed spectacularly a few years ago?
Mm-hmm.
Was that supposed to be AR?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. If you guys are the one, can we talk about Jeffrey? I started reading, and then when I don't remember what it was, but I remember this guy gave me the creeps. Like when I first started reading his chapters, I was like, I don't know what it is, but he's giving me red flags. And then I realized that he's trying to find a partner in the couples that he's trying to like help, and I was just like, he's creepy. Yeah. And I'm glad that the Noah and Luke, I think it was, they're his new clients. I'm glad that in the end they made it out okay, because I really thought Luca died, or Noah died. One of them. No, I really thought Noah had died.
I mean, I don't think he was in great condition though. Wasn't he like in a wheelchair and stuff after that?
Yeah. He was when he went to testify or whatever it was. He was in a wheelchair, but at least he's alive. And I was like, I really thought he died. But yeah, he was creepy. And in the end, who was it that came to him and being like, oh yeah, we who knows if your match is really your match? We could have lied to you, or if that's her. Do you think that she was a match or not?
I don't know, man. I don't even think it matters.
Like, oh, I forgot. Did we ever? Oh no, we did find out who that was, because
she was a woman from America, and she was like older than him, but he bought her an apartment in the UK, and she was been visiting him. And then whoever came to see him be like, are you sure she's your match? Are you sure that's her? And it's like, she could very well not be. And then it just ends.
You know, I wonder if I don't remember if he had a name, but I'm pretty sure he had a name, but I can't remember. At the end, he just kept being described as like the pale, tall man or whatever, for Roxy and for Jeffrey.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder if he's a part of the hacking collective, because I feel like we have not seen the end of him. And he who was it? Because he was on like a tablet or whatever that they brought to Jeffrey, and was telling him like, I worked so hard to bring the marriage act to light, and
Oh yeah, that's right. That's right.
yeah,
That's the guy that went to talk to Jeff, right?
yeah, and then
and like he's like, you ruined everything. Like, I was like,
I feel like we have not seen the last of him.
I feel like a lot of people died.
Yes.
Sometimes you really read a thriller and like, unless there's a serial killer, usually like one person dies, but it just felt like people were being killed all over the place.
You should read The Passengers.
I was gonna say The Passengers, but I feel like Christopher definitely from The One was definitely like that dude was insane. Wait, who was wasn't it someone from this book that was his true match? So in The One, he was matched with the police officer, right? But it turns out that they're part of like the match by the hacker who got mismatched. But there was somebody from this book, I think, or was it the previous book? That was his true match. I'm getting the books confused. I'm sorry.
I don't remember.
You should go grab The One and take a look real quick. That would be interesting, though. I'm curious now.
Wait, no, it was the Minders. Never mind. So somebody in the Minders is actually his true match. So just letting you know. Sorry, spoiler. I won't tell you who, but
Wait,
and it's right in the beginning. It tells you like right away in the beginning. So
okay. I think I need to get a couple more palate cleansers under my belt.
Interestingly, this was my palate cleanser.
Really?
Wait, what have you been reading?
Because I have been reading so much romance back to back that I was starting to like, it just wasn't hitting the same anymore. So I needed something different because somebody was like, if you're slumping, make sure you switch up genres. And I was like, all right.
I think it's because I read 2 thrillers right in a row that I was like, yeah.
What was the other thriller?
The Passengers.
Oh, okay.
Plus we read Butcher and Blackbird, and that wasn't like, it wasn't like rom-com, but it wasn't like super dark as I was thinking it was.
You guys read more rom-coms, right?
Yeah.
Or are you reading more of the dark romance?
Rom-coms mostly. I mean, I have some dark romance that I'll sprinkle in there, but it's mostly rom-coms.
Outside of Butcher and Blackbird, I don't know if I've read any dark romance. I don't think. I can't think of any. John Mars has written 10 books. That's a lot.
Yeah.
I like that he's got this like little, I mean, it's not a series, but all in the same universe though. And
Yeah.
I'm glad he's continuing it.
Yeah.
I feel like since you guys read The Passengers and The Minder, I don't know, I feel like I read it out of order.
I mean, I haven't read The Minders because I didn't have time. So
they're not spoiling anything. I mean, this one, it talks about the self-driving cars from The Passengers, and there was a hacking that happened. So, but it does. I don't think it spoiled anything, and I don't remember reading anything that happened in The Minders in this book. So,
Kat, did the Minders follow multiple people, or was it kind of like The Passengers where it had like that one central person as well?
No, it followed multiple people.
Okay.
Are all his books like that?
I don't know. I bought the first book in like his other series. It's not really, but I bought the first book, so I'm gonna see if it's multiple points of views. I haven't received it yet, but so far, yeah.
Because I've obviously enjoyed the books of his that I have read, but like multiple points of view, like beyond 2, even 2, I struggle with sometimes. It's just like,
yeah.
The Passengers.
Yeah, with every single one of his books, I've had to write down all the characters and then like give like a little description of who they are, what they're doing pertaining to the story, because otherwise I'll forget who's who.
The Passengers was interesting because I wasn't expecting it. Like we were following multiple people, but I wasn't expecting for there to be like a main person.
Yeah. So the
out.
Passengers is slightly different. You're still following multiple people, but there is one central person that's like at the center of the story that's involving all those multiple people. So
So I assume you will both read more John Mars.
oh, I am. I wanna try to get through all his books.
You'll have to let me know about the ones that are like not set in this universe.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
if they're worth it or not.
I wonder if they're all set in the UK.
I think he is British.
I think
so
he is because he's British.
I know, but I mean, I'm sure like British people have written books in the United States.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I feel like if you're more likely to write about what you know.
Yeah. I don't want to. I have no idea, to be honest.
Is there anything else we would like to talk about with this book?
No, I think we're okay.
I have a final question for you, Kat. If you had to rank the 4 in this universe that you've read, can you rank them?
The one obviously is number 1. I would probably. I rated The Passengers a 4, but I think I'm gonna reread it because I felt like I enjoyed that book more than this one. And I gave this one a 5. I think I rated that one a 4 because I didn't quite as love it as much as the one.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it's the one, The Passengers, The Marriage Act, and The Minders last.
Okay. I'm on hold for The Minders, but I want to do the audiobook because I like the sound effects and also the voices, and they're always full cast too, which is great.
Yeah.
Desiree, out of the two, the one and this one, are they equal? Does one rank higher?
They're equal for me. I know you guys keep saying you like the one more. I mean, like, I get that if you read something that feels a little new, that when you kind of see it again, it doesn't have as much. I don't know, but for me, like, I think they were pretty on the same level.
For me, it's the one, and then The Passengers, and then this one. When I read The Minders, I guess we'll see where that one falls into.
I feel like Chloe was saying no to this answer. So, Desiree, with all of the benefits that you get from the smart marriage, would you ever consider doing it with John? Because it's like you said, all of our information is out there already. Alexa is listening to your every word, and Siri. So, what do you think?
I think, like, with the lives that we live now, the fact that I already own a house and stuff, no. But, like...
But you would get a nicer house, I think. I don't know.
Yeah, but like, John and I talk about it all the time, you know, because he wants to be an actor. And so we have just daydreamed like, oh, what if you get famous? What if you make millions of dollars? And we have always said that we wouldn't live like super extravagant lifestyles, that we still want to be grounded, and like maybe the biggest purchase we would make is a bigger house, but that's it. Like, we don't need jets. We don't need like fancy 10 cars. Like we don't want any of that. Like, we would use our money to like help community and give
reading
back.
retreats
and,
at
like...
Desiree's house. All the time.
So the way our lives are now, I'm gonna say no. But if it was like pre-house and we were struggling, and like maybe if it was like, you know, us getting a house didn't seem achievable, and they were like, we'll give you a house, or, you know, we'll pay the down payment, or whatever the case is, then maybe.
Chloe, I'm assuming your answer is no.
You would assume correctly.
I mean, I'm torn. Just because I get it that, and I don't have an Alexa, but I know that Siri is always listening to me, because I'll mention one thing and then all of a sudden I'm seeing ads for it, and it's like super creepy. But
I have 2 Alexas.
Yeah, I don't know. Just because I like some of the perks that we're talking about, like you get assistance with your new house. I don't know what else you get, but it sounds like they live a better life than people who don't. that are not part of the smart. So I mean, I would consider it. I don't know if I would do it, just because I feel like if you mess up, the consequences aren't something I want to go through. Like having having a marriage counselor come to you, or having to go to court to decide whether you get divorced or not. I don't know. I don't like that.
So something that was like super relatable was there was moments in the book where like the couple was trying to communicate with each other without letting the audite hear what they were saying. So they would say something but like sign something else, or like just their lips to mouth things. And like we don't do it all the time, but there are definitely times where like my son will come in to tell me something, and we'll start talking, and then I'll be like, we'll just like point at like Alexa, like like, or he'll say, can we unplug her for a little bit? Yeah, sure, we can unplug her so that we can have this conversation, or whatever the case is. So
see, that's the thing though. I think Alexa is like super creepy, and I don't have one, and I would never want one, but I do have Siri, so it's like, what does it matter?
Yeah,
I feel like Alexa is like, because I don't like use like the calendar stuff on my phone. Like you guys know me, I like handwrite the planner and everything. I feel like Alexa is so like ingrained in like, your package has been delivered, this is what's on your schedule today, stuff like that. I'm like, I don't know about that.
my friend's washer is connected to hers.
No.
And so whenever her laundry is done, it like announces it. I could be like, your wash is done. Time to like,
yeah, but you would have to like buy a washer that's
true.
Integrated with Alexa.
I know that I have a Ring doorbell, and I don't know if it's still connected, but actually it has to be, because like I've never had like a doorbell in my house until I got a Ring. And so when somebody presses the button on the Ring, my Alexa goes ding dong. So like, and then it'll say someone is at the door. So
yeah.
Do we want to go ahead and go into final thoughts?
Sure. So this is John Mars's fourth book in his, I think it's psychological thrillers. It was really enjoyable to read, a little creepy. It goes into people's marriages, and whether, as we talked about, whether you're willing to give up your privacy and for benefits of having a smart marriage, and potentially having the government intrude in your marriage. But we follow several points of views, as with his other books in this world, such as The Passengers and the Minders. So if you are not someone who enjoys reading multiple points of views, I would give at least the one a chance, because even though there's multiple points of views, I felt like the characters are very distinct, like their voices. And if you listen to the audiobook while reading, it has a full cast of characters, so it's different voices for every character. But I really liked this. For me personally, it started off a little slower. It took me a little bit longer for me to really connect with the characters, but in the end, as with John Mars' style, I really enjoyed it. So I did give this 5 stars.
I really liked it. I liked it as much as the one. I feel like his writing is very realistic. Like, even though he incorporates kind of maybe like these sci-fi, sometimes dystopian, very suspenseful elements, they still feel very realistic. And I think part of what makes it so creepy is just how possible, how plausible everything is. And I will continue to read John Mars, and I gave this one 5 stars.
I gave this one 3.5 stars. Out of the 3 books that I have read by John Mars, this is probably my least favorite one. But I am still interested in other books, especially set in this universe. Excuse me. I didn't feel super invested with the characters, but I do feel like I still had some favorites out of the group. But overall, I'm giving this one 3.5 stars.
Excuse me. Hold
on. For March, of course, I did not pick up the book before getting onto the live show. We're going to be reading Retro by Sophia Lapuente and Jared Schusterman, which this is a I think it's a young adult thriller-esque. So I guess we'll see how this one goes. We're still on the thriller kick. But I am really interested in reading this one. The synopsis was really intriguing to me, and hopefully we enjoy this one. And let me get our live show date here.
Were you the one who chose that?
I think it was one of my picks that we voted on.
Okay.
Yeah. Our live show for that one is going to be on Sunday, March 24th at 6 p.m. Eastern on this channel. And then make sure you follow us on Twitter and Instagram at Booktube Chicks for any updates regarding that live show. Also, we have Pages and Pals on Kat's channel, which is linked in the description below. That's going to be on Friday, March 15th at 8 p.m. Eastern. Her channel is linked in the description below. And then Desiree and I do not have a quarter romance for another month or so, but Desiree's channel is still linked in the description below. And that is everything we have for today's live discussion. So thank you for joining us, or if you're watching the playback, thank you for watching. And we will see you all next month for our discussion of retro. Bye.